Hi Rainbow Loomers, it's Michelle from Rainbow Loom, and for today's guest design, we'll be learning how to make this round hamster bracelet designed by Forest Hook. This is a fishtail based intermediate to advanced hook-only bracelet that's also an asymmetrical design. I would consider this as intermediate to advanced just because during some parts of this bracelet, we deal with up to 8 loops on our hook, and it's important to make sure that the bands stay in the correct order on your hook. But if you're someone who wants to level up your hook-only skills, then I think this would be a really fun bracelet to make that also introduces you to more complex hook-only bracelets. There is also a way to make a wide version of the round hamster bracelet called the Very Round Hamster, so if you're up for the challenge, leave a comment to let us know. A little bit more about Forest Hook. He started doing Rainbow Loom back in 2015 and started designing his own creations in 2024. He mostly creates designs with the hook and is well known for his intricate original designs. His favorite design that he's created is the Heart of the Forest bracelet. Forest Hook also has a YouTube channel that will be linked in the description along with a couple tutorials of his designs and his social media profiles, so be sure to check out his amazing work. And a big thank you to Forest Hook for sharing this design with us. Now let's go over the materials needed. To loom, I am using Rainbow Loom's double-ended Loomy Loom hook available on the Rainbow Loom web store. This hook was designed just for rubber bands, so you can precisely loom them, and it has 2 tips so that you can work on both sides of your bracelet. For this bracelet, I would really recommend using the double-ended Loomy Loom hook because removing the creation and flipping the design with one single-ended hook can get a little bit tricky. Next, I am using an easy clip to close off my bracelet. The clear ones are available in some of our newer kits now, and we have pastel and glitter easy clips on the Rainbow Loom web store. Lastly, I am using rubber bands from our new Gem Pop treasure box for Michaels. This has 7,000 bands in 7 different colors. I especially love the deeper colors like the dark green, but I sadly won't be using it in this video just because it might be a little hard to see on camera. The bands are fully opaque, so no jelly or sparkle bands. There are also 2 happy looms, one purple and one teal, to make almost all 2-peg designs. And lastly, it comes with 150 clear easy clips. Let's go over the band count and the colors that I will be using for my round hamster bracelet. How many bands you'll need depends on your wrist size and the type of clip that you're using. Since the easy clips are a little bit longer, I can use slightly less bands. My wrist is larger than 6 inches or 15.24 centimeters in circumference, so I made 11 sections of this bracelet, and the total band count for me came out to 100. I will be using 4 colors in this bracelet. Here, I used gray for the border, which will be blue in this bracelet that I'm going to make, and I used 67 bands for this. For the inner accent colors, I used pink and green in this bracelet for my first accent color, and I will be using red for my bracelet today. Then I used orange and blue for my second accent color, and I will be using this yellow-orange today. And lastly, I used yellow and purple in this bracelet for my third accent color, and in the bracelet that I'm making today, I will be using green. I used 11 of each accent color, so 33 in total. Before we get started making our round hamster bracelet, keep in mind that if you are left-handed, you will do everything mirrored, and we actually have a separate video for that which will be coming out pretty soon if you would prefer to watch that instead. Otherwise, you can join the right-handed people in making this bracelet. That was a bit of a long intro, but now let's get started making our round hamster bracelet. To start, get 6 of your border color, followed by 1 of each of your inner accent colors, then another border band. I also have my easy clip nearby. We will start with the border color first, and we will make a double looped cap band with it. So just place the band on your hook and twist the band once so that there are 2 loops. Try to make sure that the area where the band crosses itself is at the bottom of your hook, and it should also make an X shape. Before we continue, I'm going to place my easy clip on the 2 loops of this cap band just to keep the band in place. So I'm pinching the band and placing on the clip, making sure that both loops are in the easy clip. Then adjust the band again so that the X shape is at the bottom where our easy clip is. Your hook should now have 2 loops of the cap band. Now we're going to take another border colored band, pull it through everything on our hook, and reclaim the loop closest to the tip of our hook. So pull this through both loops on our hook. Then when we reclaim the band, skip over the loop that's currently closest to the tip of your hook and reclaim the outer loop. Then close by placing the loop that you're holding onto the hook. We have 3 loops on our hook now. Then we're going to fishtail 2 border bands on both sides. So to do that, Pull another border band through the 2 loops closest to the tip of your hook. Then reclaim the outer loop, which is the one that's currently closest to the tip of your hook. So pull this through the first 2 loops. Then when we reclaim the loops, skip over the one currently closest to the tip and grab the other loop, then close by placing the loop in your hand onto the hook. That was one of our fishtailed borders, and we will do this one more time on this side. So pull a border band through the first 2 loops on your hook and reclaim the outer loop. So pull this new band through the first 2 loops, then skip over this loop to reclaim the other loop and close. Now we will do basically the same thing to the other side. So flip your creation to the other side now, and when you slide your creation over, try to make sure that all of the bands stay in order. First, we will remove the loop closest to the tip of your hook, and then we will reclaim the other side of the cap band. And then close. Now let's do our 2 fishtail border bands on this side. So pull a border band through the first 2 loops on your hook, reclaim the outer loop, and then close. Let's do that one more time. Pull this band through the first 2 loops on your hook, and reclaim the outer loop. Then close. You should have 8 loops of your border bands on your hook now. Try to make sure that the bands stay in the correct order on your hook. Next, we're going to work on the 3 inner accent colors. For the first accent color, which I chose the red for, we're going to pull it through everything but the last 2 loops on your hook. So we will pull it through the first 6 loops currently closest to the tip of your hook. Then we will reclaim the middle 2 loops, so the 4th and 5th from the tip of your hook, and the 2 loops closest to the tip of your hook. So pull this through the first 6 loops on your hook, Now when we reclaim the loops, you're skipping over this first loop currently closest to the tip, reclaiming the next 2, skipping the next one, and reclaiming the final 2 loops. Then close. We have to do a little bit of rearranging, so for this bracelet, remember that we want the outer border bands to stay on the outside whenever we place on the inner accent colors. So we're going to move the 2nd and 3rd loops from the tip of our hook over to the outside. Your hook should now have 8 loops on it, 2 of your border, 1 of your inner accent color, 2 of your border, your inner accent color, and 2 of your border. Now we will add our 2nd accent color. So here's a pattern for the inner accent colors that I want you to remember. It's just 6, 5, 4. For the first accent color, you pull it through the first 6 loops on your hook. For the second accent color, which for me is yellow, you pull it through the first 5 loops on your hook. Then for the last accent color, pull it through the first 4 loops on your hook. We will pull our second accent color through the first 5 loops on our hook. Then we will reclaim the outer 3 loops, so the 3 currently closest to the tip of our hook. So pull this band through the first 5 loops, which is everything but the last 3 loops on your hook. Then when we reclaim the loops, we will skip these first 2 loops currently closest to the tip of our hook and reclaim the outer 3. Then close. Just like with the first accent color, we want to do some rearranging, so just pull these 2 border bands so that they're actually on the border. Make sure that your hook matches mine before moving on. There should be 8 loops on your hook right now. Next, we will place on our 3rd accent color, which for me is green, and remember our 6-5-4 pattern. So we will pull this through the first 4 loops on our hook. Then we will reclaim 1 loop of our 2nd accent color, which for me is yellow, and our outermost border band, which is the one closest to the tip of your hook. These 2 loops should also kind of stick out on your hook. So pull this new band through the first 4 loops. Then when we reclaim the loops, skip the first accent color, reclaim the 2nd accent color, skip the first border band, and reclaim the outer border band. Then close. This time when we rearrange the bands, you only have to move one of the border bands over to the outside. So after adding on all 3 of your inner accent colors and rearranging the border, we will always flip our bracelet to the other side so we can add 1 more band on for the section. With another border band, we're going to pull it through the first 5 loops on our hook, so 2 of our border bands, and 1 loop of each of the 3 accent colors. Then we only reclaim 1 loop, which is the border band that's currently closest to the tip of your hook. It's also sticking out, so pull this band through the first 5 loops, then reclaim the outer border band, which is the farthest loop from the tip of our hook right now. Then you can close. These first 2 border bands may want to uncross, but try to keep the longer border band crossed over the one that we just added. So the longer border band should be the second loop from the tip of your hook. Congrats on making the first section of our round hamster bracelet. Next, I'll show you the repetitive pattern for extending this bracelet. For every section of this bracelet now, you can copy the band layout that I have here. We have our first border colored band, then our fishtailed sides, then our inner accent colors, and our last border colored band. Let's work on the repeat section of our bracelet now. You know you're starting on the correct side if these inner accent colors are pointing towards the tip of your hook. Get a border band and we will pull it through everything on our hook, then reclaim the outermost loop on both sides. So that would be this loop and this loop. But again, you want to make sure that this longer band is crossed over the first loop on our hook because those 2 loops have a tendency to uncross. So let's do that now. Pull this new band through everything on our hook. And when you reclaim, get this first border band, then skip over everything and grab this outer border band and close. Again, these bands also sometimes want to uncross, so just make sure that the longer loops are in the middle and the band we just placed on is on the outside. Now we're going to fishtail 2 border bands on both sides. To do that, pull a border band through the first 2 loops on your hook and reclaim the outer loop, which is currently closest to the tip of your hook. So pull this band through the first 2 loops, then we will reclaim the outer loop. Sometimes the bands will undo themselves, so you can use your hook to pull back on the inner border loop in order to reach the outer border loop. And then close. Do this one more time on this side, and the second fishtail border band should always be easier. So pull this through the first 2 loops on your hook, and when we reclaim, skip this first one and reclaim the second one, then close. You can see that these 2 loops on the other side just uncrossed, but we can fix that after we flip our creation around. All you have to do is pull this longer loop over the other loop, and you can kind of hold it down with your finger. Let's continue with the 2 fishtail border bands on this side. Pull a band through the first 2 loops and reclaim the outer loop that's closest to the tip of your hook. Then I'm pulling back on this first loop to reach the outer one, and close. Do this one more time on this side. Pull a band through the first 2 loops on your hook, skip over this band, and reclaim the outer one, then close. You should now have 8 loops of border bands on your hook. When we place on our inner accent colors now, you can see all of these inner accent colors from the previous section are facing away from the tip of our hook. So that's one way to know if you're working from the correct side. Get your first accent color and remember our 654 pattern. The first accent color will get pulled through the first 6 loops on your hook. Then you will reclaim the middle 2 loops currently on your hook, skip the next loop, and reclaim the outer 2 loops. So pull this through the first 6 loops on your hook. Then when we reclaim, skip the first loop, reclaim the next 2, skip the next one, and reclaim the outer 2 loops, then close. When we place on our inner accent colors, we have to remember to rearrange the border bands so that they're actually on the border. So just take these 2 loops and pull them to the side. Now make sure that your hook matches mine with 8 loops, and the inner accent color should be the 3rd and 6th loops on our hook. Get your second accent color, and we will pull it through the first 5 loops on our hook. Then reclaim the outer 3 loops. Pull this through the first 5. Then when we reclaim, skip these first 2 closest to the tip of your hook and reclaim the outer 3 loops. Then close. move these 2 border bands over to the side again. Now we're going to place on our third accent color, and according to the 654 pattern, we will pull this through the first 4 loops on our hook and reclaim the second accent color and the outer border band. Pull this through the first 4 loops, skip the first accent color, reclaim the second, skip the first border loop and reclaim the outer one, and close. Again, even though there's only 1 loop now, we're going to move this border band to the side, just like this. After placing on our 3 inner accent colors, we're going to flip our creation to the other side. Take 1 more border band, which is the last band of our section, and we will pull it through the first 5 loops on our hook and reclaim the outer loop, which is the one closest to the tip of our hook, and it's also the one slightly sticking out. So pull this through the first 5 loops, and when we reclaim, skip over these 4 loops to reach the outer border band, then close. That completes our first repeat section of this pattern. Let's do another repeat of this pattern, and you can see that I have all of my bands laid out again. So I have my 5 border bands, then my inner accent colors, and 1 more border band. This is where we left off, and remember that we want these first 2 bands to be crossed, so the second longer loop should cross over the first loop. Get your first border band, and we will pull this through everything on our hook and reclaim the outer loop on both sides, which is this loop and this loop. Let's do that now. Pull this through everything on our hook. Then when we reclaim this first loop, skip over the other loops, and grab the last loop. Then close. Remember that these bands here sometimes want to uncross, so just make sure that the longer loops are in the middle and the band we just placed on is on the outside. Now we will do our fishtail border twice. So take a border band and we will pull it through the first 2 loops on our hook and reclaim the outer loop. So pull this through the first 2, and sometimes when you reclaim, the bands will uncross, so you can use your hook to pull back on the band to reach the outer one. Then close. Let's do the second fishtailed border band. So pull this through the first 2 loops. Then when we reclaim, skip over this first band to get the other one, then close. Let's do the same to the other side now, so slide your creation over. Make sure that the second longer loop is still crossed over the first loop on your hook. We're going to do the 2 fishtail borders again. With another border band, pull it through the first 2 loops and reclaim the outer loop. And again, when we're reclaiming, I'm using my hook to pull back on this loop so that I can reach the outer loop, then close. Let's do this again. Pull this border band through the first 2 loops on your hook, and when you reclaim, skip over this first loop and reclaim the outer loop, then close. This is what your bracelet should look like now. Make sure that the bands are still in the correct order. Next, we will place on our 3 inner accent colors. If you're unsure of which side to start placing the inner accent colors on, you can see here that the inner accent colors are pointing away from the tip of my hook. So every time we start placing on the inner accent colors, the existing accent colors on our bracelet should be pointing away. Remember our 654 pattern now. We're going to pull our first inner accent color through the first 6 loops on our hook. Then we will reclaim the 5th, 4th, 2nd, and 1st loops currently on our hook. So pull this through the first 6 loops. Then when we reclaim, skip over this first loop, reclaim the next 2 loops, skip this next one, and reclaim the last 2 loops, then close. When we place on our inner accent bands, remember that we always want the border to be on the outside, so just move these 2 loops over to the side. This is what your bracelet should look like now. Then we can add on our second accent color. According to the 654 pattern, we will pull this through the first 5 loops on our hook. Then we will reclaim the outer 3 loops, so the 2 border bands and 1 loop of our first inner accent color. When we reclaim, skip over the first 2 loops and reclaim the outer 3. Then close. Remember to rearrange the border bands, so just move these 2 over to the side. For the last inner accent color, pull this through the first 4 loops on our hook, then reclaim the 3rd and 1st bands from the tip of our hook right now. They're also kind of sticking out, so pull this through the first 4. Then when we reclaim, skip the first accent color, reclaim the 2nd, skip the first border loop, and reclaim the 2nd one, and close. Then move the single border band to the side. After placing on all 3 of the inner accent color bands, we're going to flip our bracelet. For the last band of this section, use your border color band to pull through the first 5 loops on your hook and reclaim only the loop that's currently closest to the tip of your hook. And this one is also slightly sticking out. So pull this through the first 5 loops, then reclaim the outer loop, and close. Make sure that these 2 loops stay crossed, with the longer loop crossing over the band that we just put on. And that completes another repeat of this pattern. I will speed through the rest of this bracelet, but remember that you can use the timestamps to rewind to the repeat sections. After making a couple more sections, I will show you how to end this. So this is the start of my last section, and you're going to do everything the same. Now normally we would start another section here, but instead, you're just going to take another border colored band and pull it through everything on your hook. Then you can connect this loose end to the other side of your clip. And now your bracelet is complete. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial on how to create this round hamster bracelet designed by Forrest Hook. And thank you again to Forrest Hook for sharing your design with us. Make sure to check out his social media accounts in the description of this video. If you make this, please tag us at official_RainbowLoom and use the hashtag RainbowLoom so that we can see your creations on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. We also host weekly giveaways on our Instagram called our Loom Start of the Week contest, where you can win some fun prizes, so be sure to follow us there. In the description box below, you can find where to purchase your own Rainbow Loom products. We have so many kits available, and there's honestly something for everyone. We are also selling some Rainbow Loom products on our TikTok shop, so if you're in the US, check out our store, which has some exclusive bundles and deals that you can't find anywhere else. And again, thanks for watching this tutorial, and I'll see you in the next one.